Mr. Webb, any comments?
Nope. Just let me know. There's one guy with my back, and then him. Anybody else? Family? They come in separately? Yeah, they'll come in. Is anybody here?
We're waiting for Jussie Smollett at that 30-minute concert.
No, I went to challenge for
So here we are at about 5 o'clock. This is not that late for the machine.
David calling me. Yes. 3 minutes. Regular news.
Got it. Did you see the shot of Dan Webb walking in? Yeah, it was being fed back live. I don't know if there's anybody back there to cut that and turn it around. I mean, we should be seeing Smollett here shortly. Yeah. ago. So far, it has not been good. In fact, most of the parties involved in this trial still have not even arrived here at the Layton Criminal Courthouse. About 8 minutes ago, Special Prosecutor Dan Webb and his team arrived and walked in, heading up to the 7th floor courtroom of Judge Julius up in court. The order up here just tends to be that he is smiling and talking, looking very chipper. He said nothing as he walked by the single reporters here. We also saw Bola Oshundara, one of the brothers that were key witnesses to the prosecution case, walking through here 20 minutes ago. And he's going to be present in the courtroom because he's very thinly seated. And he's going to be definitely in the vicinity. We have not yet seen the star of the show, not Empire, but this trial. Jussie Smollett has not arrived here at the courthouse. When he does arrive, we'll bring this to you as quickly as we can. We know that he's been coming with a number of family members, with his defense team. They pull up in a big SUV in front of the courthouse steps and load it out. We are anticipating his arrival here very shortly. We told you when we last spoke about 25 minutes ago, the judge yesterday indicated he wanted the verdict run fairly quickly for the stage for about 25 or 30 minutes. And the parties constructed to stay close to the courthouse. We don't know where Mr. Smollett has been staying all day. I'm sure he was deliberating, but again, it is rush hour. It is Thursday in Chicago, downtown. It could take them a little while to get there, but nothing will be read. We won't know the verdict until Justice Smollett arrives and hopefully minutes, perhaps we can get it to you live, but he does have a police
I just need to hit, if it can chill by that little beam, yeah, that's perfect. God bless.
Hello?
Just give me a heads up.
I will.
That's good timing, huh?
I'm bouncing back and forth between our show and
How would I what the priorities are, sure, right? Two and a half minutes.
for us.
You want me to call you back up, or you got them both up?
What's that?
You got them both up?
Yeah. Here. I'm dipping in on those. Okay.
2.5 minutes, they said, so.
Okay. All right, let's wait. I mean, if you want to vamp, the problem is I've got to keep an eye on my phone with Casey. It's going to be a little while before they read the verdict. They still have to bring the jury in. It's going to take a little bit of time. Sounds good. Yeah. And I'll let you know when we're getting indication that the verdict is positive. I just got a text from our reporter, Casey Cronus, in the courtroom saying, quote, Jussie is in the courtroom. As you saw live just moments ago, Jussie Smollett, his defense team, and his family walked in here about less than 10 minutes ago. As you saw when they walked past us, they didn't say anything. They were staring straight ahead. Many of them had arms linked together as they walked down the hallway. They went to the older part of the building here, went up on the elevators to the 7th floor. Jussie Smollett now in the courtroom. Special Prosecutor Dan Webb, about 15 minutes before that, arrived here at the Layton Criminal Courthouse. He presumably is either in the courtroom or outside of the courtroom. The question now is when the jury is going to be brought in. It's going to take a little bit of time for them to assemble the courtroom and get everything ready. And then when that happens, of course, they'll bring the jury in and ask them what they decided after 9.5 hours of deliberation. 2 hours yesterday, about 7.5 hours today. That's the situation here at the Layton Criminal Courthouse. We're going to be staying in contact with our reporter up in the courtroom, and she's going to be letting us know just when things are starting to develop up there, when the judge gets on the bench, when he begins making his opening remarks, and of course, when a verdict is ready. Toss it back to you for now.
Switch over to the.
Yeah.
Use that. Okay.
No, I'm good. What do you
No
say?
more?
What's that?
Can we have notes now?
No, skip it. We're done with that.
I was trying to get over, so when you came to me, like I wasn't like all. I think I almost. Good, sir? Yeah. Right.
Judge Lynn. Yeah, Judge Lynn just entered the courtroom. Are you listening to me? Are you listening? Yeah, Judge Lynn just entered the courtroom.
I'll just keep this light up just in case.
Yeah. All right, the jury is walking in now. Jury's walking in. Okay. This is going to be coming very shortly here. This is coming up really shortly. I think you need to either put me into a box on the screen so I can jump in. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Are you listening? Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, I'm waiting on a text to come down from Casey Cronus, our Fox colleague who's up in the courtroom right now. Judge James Lynn brought into the courtroom about 3 minutes ago. The jury has been brought into the courtroom. Judge Lynn opened up by telling everybody to control their emotions regardless of the verdict. And it sounds as though the verdict is being taken at this moment. Again, 6 counts of felony disorderly conduct. It's likely they will go through the verdicts on each of those counts. Count 1, count 2. Count 1, guilty. Jussie Smollett, guilty of felony disorderly conduct. Count 1. That is just coming down now from the state courthouse. We'll have to hear what his reaction is to that later. He's been fairly stoic during the trial. brought in here just moments ago, but again, count one, guilty, Jussie Smollett, guilty, count two, guilty as well. So at least 2 of the 6 counts right now, Jussie Smollett has been found guilty of disorderly conduct, but it's a felony disorderly conduct. As Larry was just explaining, it does carry a potentially longer prison term of possibly 3 years in prison, although most of the attorneys we talked to say that's not likely. Count 3, guilty again. So on half the counts now, Jussie Smollett has been found guilty. Loading up another count right now. Again, Casey Cronus, our new colleague from Fox 32, just joined the station last week. He's up in the courtroom on one of the benches. It's an older courtroom, a large courtroom, but also very limited up there because of COVID. There are 57 people allowed. We should be getting a 4th count verdict here in just a couple of moments. Count 4, guilty. So again, 4 of the 6 counts so far against Jussie Smollett has been found guilty, and it's likely, if I may surmise, that there'll be guilty counts on 5 and 6 as well, because as Larry was saying just moments ago, these counts are all pretty much alike. They're essentially 6 counts for the same crime. I did say I'm going to say alleged crime. Now I can say count 5. Yes, indeed, guilty. They're all the same crime, and it is for lying to a Chicago police officer. 3 separate occasions in which he was interviewed by police. Each of those occasions he spoke to 2 officers, and so the way that Dan Webb, the special prosecutor, formulated his case was to charge 2 counts for each of those interactions with police. Now we're loading up the 6th count here. Let me tell you what it's going to be. Again, counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 guilty. And count 6 is not guilty. That's a bit of a surprise. So he's guilty on 5 counts and not guilty on the 6th count. However, it's a big win for the special prosecutor's office because they only needed 1 guilty count. They could have been not guilty on 5 counts and guilty on 1, and guilty on 5 is essentially the same thing. So again, Jussie Smollett just found guilty on 5 of the 6 felony disorderly conduct charges he faced in this trial that took about a week and a half here at the Lake Courthouse. Global scrutiny on this case, both when it happened and when it happened. So, looking forward to hearing what Mr. Smollett's reaction was in the courtroom. Looking forward to hearing his lawyer's reaction and also the special prosecutor's. Dan Webb has been in this business a long time.
From the testimony that was given, from the evidence that the jury heard, and I heard it, and my colleagues heard it, those of us who were in court, and you hear it, they heard from the police officers who talked to them. And there was really no doubt, really, from the prosecution side or the defense side, whether Jussie actually made it out of court. He made it. That's true. The question was, were the reports given live? So in the days before this incident, on January 29th, 2019, remember that was the first outside. A couple of things that really stood out. But there were a couple of things that really stood out. The special prosecutor made a point to say, how did the Ocean brothers know to be at that 1:05 at 2 in the morning in the middle of a polar vortex and knew that Jussie was going to be there when there were 5 different exits to Jussie's entrance? This was essentially true that each side of the South Texas and rubber up on the line of fire, knocking jobs out of them. If that was true, then why would they be at that 1:05? How would they know to be in that 1:05? So they video of Smollett driving around 3 years before on January 27th. So
giving me some specifics on the reaction from Smollett. She says, in fact, there was no reaction from Jussie Smollett as those guilty verdicts were read. She said he looked stoic and silent. He looked stoic as he walked past the jury about 20 minutes before the verdict was read. So no reaction from Smollett in the courtroom. The jury is being thanked by the judge right now. The judge is very pleased with the jury he is telling them. He's thanking them for their time, and they have put in a great deal of time into the case, which actually is essentially it's a felony case, but it's not super serious charges. Usually judge is hearing murder cases, sexual assaults, gun crimes, but this is a much lesser significance and importance in terms of the type of crime was committed, but did take up a week and a half of his courtroom time, and he worked this jury very hard, sometimes 10, 11, 12 hours. The judge tells the jury that they are free to speak to the media, and that is one of the things we are hoping to hear from the jurors themselves. We have a microphone set up here in the lobby of the Lakeland Criminal Courthouse, and hopefully some of the jurors will come down and feel free to explain their decision, what they felt about what they heard during the trial, and why they reached the verdict that they did. Casey also telling me the judge said he could tell they were very fair and impartial, commends the jury for taking notes and showing up on time. And they were taking notes. In fact, I noticed during closing arguments yesterday that they were taking a lot of notes when Special Prosecutor Dan Webb was speaking, taking very copious notes and paying very careful attention to what he was saying. When the lead defense attorney, Henry Buche, was speaking, they were not taking as many notes. They were watching him and following him very closely. He's a very charismatic lawyer in the courtroom. He held their attention, but I noticed they weren't taking as many notes. I don't know what that means necessarily for how they decided, but also getting notes from Casey saying that they're being sent to the jury room. Extra deputies are going to be walking them back to their car. It says, quote, no one will say a word to you until you have property in your car. So apparently they're not going to allow us to try to talk to the jurors here at 26th of California. However, we can reach out to them a little bit later in the day. They are going to be escorted by sheriff's deputies to their vehicles, which are parked across the street. Now Casey telling me that the jury is out of the room. The judge is still speaking, so essentially, she says the judge is ordering a pre-sentence investigation. Larry can probably tell you a little bit more about that, Larry the lawyer, but what I can tell you is they want to know for sentencing just everything about Jussie Smollett that will help inform the judge make a decision as to what sort of sentence he'll receive. We toss it back to you right now to try to get some more information. Yeah, I do. I don't know if it'll be Smollett himself, but one of his brothers spoke earlier last week near the beginning of the trial. The family is very close. His mother is here, and most of his siblings are here. He's one of 7 children. I would anticipate somebody from the same family would have something to say. He does have PR people in his employ and working with the media on this trial. If he doesn't speak to us here, then perhaps he'll speak to some more cameras that are standing on the courthouse steps outside the building right now. We certainly know we're going to hear from Dan Webb. Likely we'll hear from the defense attorney, Henry Buche, I was just mentioning before. Whether Mr. Smollett speaks or not, we'll find out shortly.
Hey, I'm going to do a quick battery switch. Make sure my shot stays live. I'm going to hold going for a minute, but then we'll back up. Stay with me. Okay, we're back up. You see it?
Okay.
Okay, we're back up. Okay. Thank you. We're good.
We're good. We're coming back. What's that? Yeah, okay. Let's say yes, you can shoot it.
I'll let you know.
For live though, I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
They'll probably bring him out the back way.
oh, okay. This guy just set up right here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're continuing to get text messages from Casey Cronis up in the courtroom on the 7th floor. She says that they're still in the courtroom, the lawyers and the judge are still in the courtroom tightening up loose ends. The governor says, I should say, setting hearings going forward. This is important. Now, the judge ruled that Smollett will be kept on a recognizance clause, which is what he was on before. So they're not going to ask him to put any more money onto a bond now that he's been found guilty, and they're certainly apparently not going to take him into custody. Lawyers are consulting over a date set on Zoom to discuss post-trial motions. It apparently will be next month. There'll be a Zoom meeting on January 27th for post-trial motions. So, Smollett and his family still in the courtroom. Court proceedings are winding down right now, and we should be seeing them come down in the next few minutes, I would guess. Adding to Liberty's point, I can tell you, based on some of the trial testimony, this was, the city of Chicago is going to make the argument, this was expensive for them to cover, put all this manpower into a hose. The lead detective in the case testified last week that the department had put 3,000 man-hours into its investigation, and the initial report of racial and homophobic attack against Jussie Smollett. If you do the simple math, and the police officers are making anywhere from $50 to $70 an hour, that's supposed to be $200,000 in taxpayer dollars. So we'll be interested to see whether the city tries to recoup that. Of course, Mr. Smollett has a legal team of 6 well-known established lawyers, so one would imagine, given the amount of time they've devoted to this case, he's probably spent at least that and probably considerably more in mounting a defense. So, again, we're in the lobby of the Raven Criminal Courthouse. Still some activity going on with the courtroom upstairs. Now, just the note for this, the court is adjourned, and she is going to be heading down there now. because of COVID, they kept the courtroom to only 57 people, so there were very few spectators allowed in each day. There was a lot of media. There were a number of family members of Mr. Smollett. Some of his supporters were allowed in the courtroom, but it was not a full-packed courtroom given the pandemic circumstances. So what else she's doing right now? Yeah, the case is on the way down. We hope to see you here shortly. We're starting to see some people coming around the corner. It's sort of a, you guys been here before, I'm sure you've covered stories here in the past. You know that it's really two buildings. There's the older part of the courthouse that was built in the late 20s, early 30s over here, where the trials are actually held. It's a second-floor building, a lot of old, large courtrooms. And then there's the administrative part of the operation over on the other side, a sort of interior wing connecting the two, right in front of the front steps of the courthouse. That is where Ian Fox's offices are, over on the other side of the building, the County State's Attorney. And this is certainly has to be seen as something of a rebuke of her actions in dropping this case back a couple of years ago. She felt that it wasn't worth their time going forward, pursuing the prosecution. That, of course, as you recall, set off an uproar, and here comes Casey now, set off an uproar which led to the special prosecutor, Dan Webb, being appointed, and he has now managed to secure 5 guilty counts against Mr. Smollett. We'll let Casey come over here, and she can talk to us a little bit more about what was going on in the courtroom. Again, we should be seeing Jussie Smollett coming down here shortly. Also, he's surrounded by his family. It'll be interesting to see if he makes a statement. They do have people, media, trained people working with them that will be able to assist in setting up anything a statement made here. And why don't you guys take it for just a second? We're going to get in the position here. We'll be back to you in a minute, okay? All right.
How are you? Nice to see you. I just got a report.
Yeah.
That's what that black
As soon as they come up here, I'm going to put it up there. Yeah.
Casey, give me a hold.
judge did ask everyone in the courtroom to just kind of control their emotions, as is typical in a trial like this. So really not a peek from the courtroom, not a peek from family members. Jussie really having a very still look to his face, and the entire time that moment was right, and no reaction. Yeah, that's true. They've been a bit expressive. One of the defense attorneys, she did look upset with the verdict, understandably. They did ask the judge to speak off the record for a private legal position. Once court was adjourned, so the attorneys did go back into chambers. They're still upstairs right now, as far as I know, Jussie himself and relatives are also still upstairs. In the courtroom, they had not left the courtroom just yet. Special prosecutor and his team were also in the courtroom, so was the defense. One of the defense attorneys going up to the bench once that verdict was read and the jury was released, asking to speak about an issue. She said there was an issue they wanted to address off the record. The judge said the court was adjourned, and that's when the attorneys went back to their chambers. You know, a lot of them were looking straight ahead, trying not to really give off much of a reaction, it seemed. Again, the judge did say, to control their emotions, if they needed to step out of the courtroom, but really very quiet. I mean, not a peep from his family or from Jussie himself. The only thing we did from Jussie say was, when the judge asked if he understood, he said, I do understand. No. I mean, really, no reaction at all from anyone who was there in the courtroom. It was quite stoic and silent. So we hope to hear from his team as they head down and perhaps get a better idea of what's going through their minds.
Okay, again, we're waiting for everybody to come down from the courtroom, hoping to hear from Mr. Smollett himself. I think we're going to hear from a family member. Certainly hear from the attorneys on both sides.
Once the verdict was read, the defense team asked for the jury to be told at that time. They did ask each jury member if that indeed was the verdict. They all agreed, they nodded, and that's when the jury members were then dismissed. The jury was taken out, we believe, aside, and we were told that they could be escorted to their vehicles by deputies, we were told. And the judge did ask jury members not to speak to the media until they were off this property, actually, saying, wait until you get to your cars. After you get to your cars, then you're free to speak as you wish. When I was leaving the courtroom, I had to wait a moment because the jury members were being escorted out, and they did not take them in that way when they went down. So they took it a different way. Not sure if they were left the building or in the cars, but I knew that they were actually deputies escorting them to their vehicles to make sure they actually got into their cars safely and quickly. In the time, he did say that he thought this trial was very fair. He made sure to say that. He thought it was very fair, and that they were very fair and impartial. He commended them for taking notes, for showing up on time every day, and of course a lot of long days with the jury staying until 7 or 8 o'clock for several of this last week. So he
the judge pushed them very hard on this particular case. He wanted to get it done in less than 8 turns out just about a week and a half.
So that it goes into like certain areas. See that black box?
Yeah. Oh,
Pull that out.
okay.
What was it fly off?
Check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Lady Criminal Courthouse. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I'm live over there. Do we need to let the technical people know? Yeah. No, I was going to get out of there. Good night.
How do you feel?
Good, great.
Go, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta go right now. Okay, bye.
Anytime? Come on, let's go. Guys, come on up. Let's go. Come on up. You all ready? So, during my closing argument, I told the jury that I thought the evidence was overwhelming, that in fact Mr. Smollett had faked a hate crime and then lied to the police about it, and then compounded his crimes by lying to the jury during the course of this trial and insulting their intelligence. That's what I told the jury in my closing argument. With the resounding verdict we just received from this jury after one day of deliberations, in which they found Mr. Smollett guilty of virtually all charges of doing exactly what we said he did, of reporting a fake crime to the Chicago Police Department as a real crime. That verdict was a resounding message by the jury that, in fact, Mr. Smollett did exactly what we said he did. And what I think is important about this verdict is that a lot of you from Chicago know that it was a couple years ago when the court system came to me and wanted me to become special prosecutor because there was a feeling that things that had happened in the past, that there never was a public trial, and that this controversial events that occurred regarding Mr. Smollett and what he did to this city and what he did to the Chicago Police Department never had a chance to put it in front of a jury and let a jury decide, after hearing all the evidence, whether what Mr. Smollett was right or wrong, because it's very controversial. I agreed to do that because I felt it was also important for the Cook County judicial system to get a trial. Whether we won or lost the trial was not the issue. What was the issue is that what Mr. Smollett had done in this city should be aired in front of a public trial where all the evidence that comes out, all the talk on social media may or may not be true, but the true facts, I thought, needed to come out, and we did it. And we became special prosecutors, and the rest is history. We've now won this case, and I want to point out that there's an enormous effort was put in when I agreed to take the special prosecutor role. That meant that my law firm became special prosecutors, and the men and women around me right now in the last 2.5 years have worked so hard to develop the evidence, present it to a grand jury, go through a pandemic, wait to get a trial, which we wanted, and finally, in the last 10 days, these lawyers have had a chance to present this evidence to a jury, and we've come away with the jury agreeing that they should have heard the case, and in fact, he was guilty. Thank you very much. Questions?
Can you just confirm for everyone what that 6 charges that he's found not guilty of?
Yeah, the 6th count, well, I'm not going to speculate on why a jury did that, but that 6th count was an event that occurred 2 weeks after the event. So the other false statements were made to the police right on the day of January 29th on 3 different interviews, and that counted for 5 of the 6 counts, which he was found not guilty in every one of those. The 6th count was 2 weeks later, on February 13th, at a police station, and it may be because it was after the event. I don't know what the reason was. It wasn't that significant to our case, and has no impact on the case whatsoever.
Do you know which specific charge it was?
Yeah.
Aggravated battery?
It was, yeah, so the answer is yes, you're right. It was the aggravated battery, which means that there has to be a mask, and we charged that because the police officer testified that that's when Smollett told the police officer he was a mask. But whatever the reasons are, this jury, by the way, this jury worked so hard, and for Mr. Smollett to get up in front of them and lie for hours and hours and hours. That really compounded his misconduct. And quite frankly, when I saw that happen in the courtroom, at least for me, as a trial lawyer that spent my life in the courtroom, we don't expect defendants to do that. Defendants have a right to go to trial. Defendants have a right to argue that their case has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. But defendants do not have the right to go in front of a jury and lie under oath. Mr. Smollett would not have lost this case, as he did today, unless the jury found that he lied to them. And so that was something that I was very proud that this jury came to the conclusion that he's guilty, and the fact that he came up with a completely ridiculous story to explain his misconduct did not apparently have an impact on the jury's verdict.
How does the perjury charge get handled at this point?
Pardon me, I'm sorry?
How do you handle that? That is perjury. How do you handle that at this point?
Well, first of all, I don't know the answer to that question. I will say that over the years, if someone is convicted in a court of law by a jury, normally follow-up perjury charges do not normally occur. That's just the way it is. But I'm not going to predict what's going to happen here. We just got the verdict 30 minutes ago, and let's see what happens.
Dan, in all honesty, any disappointment in not getting all six?
No. I mean, I don't. I mean, look, the fact that you put in 6 counts or 16 counts, when someone is found guilty of 5 out of 6 counts, it has no impact on our case whatsoever and is insignificant.
Why did you push this vindication for the Chicago Police Department?
So I would like to, that's a good question. Thank you for asking the question. You heard me in my closing argument. I talked to them about what I said into my closing argument is that for Mr. Smollett in this city, with this police department, to have reported this crime on January 29th, you saw what this city did. A lot of times people say, well, police officers sweep things under the rug. This police department responded by absolutely testifying in this trial that they took it seriously, they believed it was the victim of a crime, and they worked so hard for the next 3 weeks. You saw 26 Chicago police officers spent 3,000 hours of time costing the city well over $100,000 for a fake crime that never occurred. And by the way, a fake crime that denigrates what a real hate crime is. And to use these meanings and symbols that are so abhorrent in our society, it's clear why the police would take it seriously. And they did. When Detective Thies described, he was working 36 hours with no sleep, and so were other police officers, because they had to trudge through these communities and get doorbells that had these cameras on it, and the work they did was extraordinary. So I have told the jury that what happened here was so wrong for the Chicago Police Department, and by the way, maybe the Chicago Police Department is not perfect, but I'll tell you this, what they did on this case was extraordinary police work, and the fact that this jury convicted him on virtually all counts was based on testimony from Chicago police officers and the 2 Osendero brothers, and I believe it's a complete vindication of everything the Chicago Police Department did to thoroughly and conscientiously investigate this case.
How much did your work cost the county?
0. Thank you for asking.
No additional cost?
None. So when we took this case, the county pays a standard amount of money each day or each hour. You get paid on the hour. Special prosecutors are paid. When I told Judge Tooman I would do it, I talked to my law firm, and we made the decision, if you're going to do this, then just do it for the public. I was asked for my firm to try to help restore the lack of confidence in the criminal justice system because what happened here. That's why Judge Tooman reached out to us, and I told him, we're going to do it. After we made the decision to do it, I told Judge Tooman we're going to do it, and we're not going to charge anything. So there's been, there might be out-of-pocket expenses of a few dollars. The answer is we did it for nothing. We did it pro bono, and we did it because we thought it was the right thing to do. And
Mr. Webb, what does this verdict say about State's Attorney Kim Foxx's decision, or her office's decision, to drop the charges now that you have this guilty verdict on 5 of 6? The events, I was appointed a special prosecutor because Judge Tooman believed that the circumstances under which the Smollett case was dismissed without a trial was not supported by the evidence. That's why I agreed to take on the case. When I agreed to take on the case, I agreed to evaluate the evidence to decide whether he should be re-indicted.
It took me 4 months of work, but I decided 4 months later that I thought the evidence was overwhelming, that he had committed serious crimes, and I re-indicted him. But then I had to go to trial and prove it. And my position is I wanted a public trial and let a jury decide. Now that they've decided that Smollett should have been convicted, I believe that we in the Special Prosecutor's Office made the right decision to re-indict him. We made the right decision to take it to trial, and we got a verdict that is obviously a resounding success for us.
Well, that's an indictment on her office, though.
I'm not going to make comments about that. What happened speaks for itself. Any other questions? What? I can't hear you.
What kind of sentence should he get?
Well, that sentence is an issue. He just got convicted 30, 40 minutes ago, so let's wait and see. We happen to have in this case, one thing that I am proud of is that this court says, we're strangers over here at 26th Street, okay? And we came over here, and the court system has done an extraordinary job. They assigned Judge Lynn, who I didn't even know Judge Lynn before this trial, who did an extraordinary job during this trial. This trial got heated. If you all had been back in chambers for a lot of the arguments we had back and forth with each other, this was a difficult trial for any trial judge. Judge Lynn did an extraordinary job, and quite frankly, the fact that the court system kind of opened its doors to us as special prosecutor, didn't look at us as outsiders, but kind of opened the doors and said, come on over, try your case, you're going to get a fair trial, and we did. And Judge Lynn did an extraordinary job, and quite frankly, he's one of the finer judges I've had the chance to practice in front of.
Is there any evidence in particular that you think stuck with this jury?
Well, there's two things that I think stuck with the jury. Number one, I think my basic argument that it is ridiculous to think that Smollett left his apartment on the night of January 29th at 2 o'clock in the morning to go buy eggs, and that's his explanation for why he ended up right at that intersection, right at 2 o'clock in the morning, that the brother said is where he told them the attack should take place. So the fact that it actually happened that way, I think, was pretty profound. I also think that sometimes it's simple things. He actually rigged that rope. After that rope got put on him, I showed the picture to the jury. Pictures don't lie. Those pictures showed that he actually, after he went through this fake attack, wanted to make it look better, and he jimmied with the rope to make the noose look closer to his throat and rustled it around, because the rope, you saw it in the courtroom, was nice and neat around his neck, because Ola Ossendaro didn't have time to do much with it because a car came. And so he ran away. He left the rope next to his face. Smollett got up, put it around his neck, and then when it didn't look bad enough, he changed it, and I think that impacted the jury. That's what I think.
Mr. Webb, you said that it was unexpected for him to get up on the stand and to lie and lie and lie like that. You spent your lifetime in a courtroom. What do you think was behind that?
I'm not going to speak. I mean, well, let me say this. First of all, Mr. Smollett has a right to present any defense he wants. I just told you that I don't think that lying under oath is acceptable for a defendant. Defendants have a right to defend themselves on the grounds that they haven't been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. They have a right to do that. I don't think they have a right to go on the stand and lie under oath. And so it happened, and I think this will probably be a point that I'll make at sentencing, that not only did Mr. Smollett lie to the police and wreak havoc here in this city for weeks on end for no reason whatsoever, but then he compounded the problem by lying under oath to a jury, which I think should not take place, and I don't expect that to happen in court of law. I just don't.
If he doesn't show any sympathy, remorse, let alone an apology, should that affect the sentencing?
No, that's up to the judge to decide. The judge is the one that gets to decide sentencing, and we'll let the judge decide sentencing issues.
You've
Anyway,
had some big cases. Where does this Class 4 felony case fit?
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your question.
You've had some big cases in your career. Where does this Class 4 felony fit in the grand jury?
Well, I've had a lot of big cases, and this is a big case. By the way, I took this case because I actually thought if it was true that he lied to the Chicago Police Department about something like a hate crime, when we've got all these social issues in our country, we're trying to make sure that we do the right thing when these kind of bad things have happened. For him to fake a hate crime, fake it, and then cause the police department to spend enormous efforts taking them off of homicide cases and putting them on this case. I thought that was bad conduct. I mean, it was not insignificant. I thought it was serious criminal misconduct that needed to be approached and have a public trial about it. Now that he's compounded his wrongdoing by lying to a jury, which they've obviously determined from the verdict today, he's compounded his misconduct in this city, and we'll let the judge decide what to do.
Should he reimburse the police department?
Well, that's an issue for sentencing. There's an issue that's always at sentencing about restitution. That'll be a decision that Judge Lynn will get to make. You all have a nice day. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Is the January 27th court date a sentencing date, you know?
No, that's just for that's just a Zoom meeting to set the date. Thanks a lot.
Here comes Ola.
Good evening, everyone. Gloria Rodriguez, Gloria. Can you hear me? Gloria Rodriguez, Gloria Rodriguez. Como dijo Celia Cruz, la vida es un carnaval. For the Spanish people in the room, you'll know what that means. My clients, Ola and Bola Osundairo, could not be more thrilled and pleased with the result today. We honor and respect the jury's outcome, but understand that there is a lot of healing that needs to happen. First and foremost, there is one unsung hero in all of this, and my clients really want to make sure she gets the credit she deserves, and that is retired Judge Sheila O'Brien. Without the judge, we don't have the Office of the Special Prosecutor. We don't have people being held accountable. We don't have the verdict that we have today. So wherever you are, Judge O'Brien, my clients, and myself, we thank you. We thank you for having the guts to file that motion seeking an appointment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Without your guts and without your gumption, we would not be here today having this closure. So thank you.
Gloria?
With respect to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, if you remember, nobody wanted this case. None of the other state's attorneys wanted this case. None of the other appellate state's attorneys in the state of Illinois wanted this case. And yet Chief Judge Tooman found Winston and Strom, and thank God that he did. And he appointed Dan Webb. Dan Webb and his team, especially Sean Weiber and Sam Mendenhall, deserve so much credit. I understand that they did this pro bono. The hours that they put into this case would astound you. The preparation that they had to go through. And I know particularly Sam Mendenhall was here in this building on his birthday. Anniversaries were missed, recitals were missed, so that we would be prepared and ready to go this last week of trial. So to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, my clients and I personally thank you for taking us across the finish line. To the media, to all of you guys, to the reporters in this building right here, you did a phenomenal job. You guys got it right. To the national media out there who just ran with this story, let's turn down the sensationalism and let's turn up the journalism. You have great role models right here, sitting right here. A lot of people's names were dragged through the mud during this trial. Let's just stop. Let's just leave them alone. Even if they're part of a major network, let's just leave them alone. Let's heal from this. To the Chicago police and the Chicago Police Department that was assigned specifically to this case, you guys got this one right. You don't always, no one's perfect, but you guys got this one right. And on behalf of the Osundairo family, they thank you for your professionalism along the way. You guys took great care of my clients from day one, and we appreciate that. To the victims of hate crimes, you are still victims of crimes. We support you, and you should know that you should have the courage to come out and report these crimes. Hate crimes or not, they're still crimes, and you should be believed. Finally, to Mr. Smollett, you are still your mother's child if you did this. You will still be the person that so many people love you for. Humans are forgiving. People will forgive you. It is time to cut the act. Just come clean. What I know of you in the almost last 3 years of this case, what I personally know of you, interacting with you in the court proceedings throughout the last year, is that you're a warm person. You seem to be a generous person. You always greeted me and my staff. I appreciate that. And I personally forgive you. And I know many other people will too. I don't speak for Ola and Bola on that. They are going to address you when they're ready, Mr. Smollett. But I personally forgive you. My clients also wanted to thank Judge Lin for his professionalism during this trial and for the entire proceedings. This has not been an easy case for him to try, and he did an outstanding job. His courtroom staff deserve a lot of credit. This was a very difficult, logistically difficult trial to have, and they did an amazing job. The deputies and the sheriffs, I know it was crazy. We really appreciate the professionalism. I will take a few questions, and then my client will make a very, very brief statement, and then we'll call it a day.
consider any cases against
Since 2019, you said you were going to cooperate. You said your clients were going to cooperate with this, whatever it took to get to this point. The brother's name was dragged in court, like you said. What does it mean to you, to your clients, that the jury agreed with the brothers?
I want to be very clear when I say the brothers, even though they're satisfied with the result and they knew that they had the expectation that this would be the result, there is still a part of them that is hurting. Remember that when I said they would cooperate, that was still knowing that they regretted their role in this. They regretted from the start their role in all of this incident. So they're at least grateful they can put this behind them.
Did Bola not want to be here?
Bola, actually, thank you for reminding me. He's going to be fighting tonight with USA Boxing. He's down in Shreveport, Louisiana. He's been aware. We've been calling and texting him this whole time. He won his fight last night, so he would love to have been here, but we haven't been able to clone him just yet.
Do you feel like there's anything he would want to clarify after this trial and his name was dragged all this?
Absolutely, Matt. Bola and Ola they'll tell their story when they're ready. This venue is more for you guys, and it's more on your terms. They want to be able to say their story on their terms, and that will happen very soon.
Can I ask you about the prosecution and then the defense after Mr. Osundario spoke with them? And they told them all sorts of names and said all sorts of different things about how they reacted to that and what you thought of that sort of defense.
The question was, how did Ola and Bola react to their name being dragged in the mud? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good when it's on a national and international stage. It doesn't feel good when it's at the local high school. Nobody likes that. But it is what it is when it comes to litigation. We understand that Mr. Smollett had to put on the case he had to put on. It's unfortunate that they had to do it in this fashion. I certainly wouldn't have done it that way, but it's time to heal. Bill, did you have a question?
Well, I want to ask you about, do you anticipate any legal action against Mr. Smollett as we move forward?
The question was any legal action against Mr. Smollett, I assume by the Osundaro brothers?
Yes, yeah.
We're not even there. That's a problem for another day. We're so tired. These have been long days and hours. I personally still have a practice to run. I have a little baby at home that I can't wait to get back to. She's 12 months old. My son Dylan just had a birthday. So my daughter Tessie turned 5. There's been a lot going on in this case. Any other questions?
I apologize if I'm not using my Nigerian accent tonight. I just wanted to wish my brother luck tonight in his boxing match, and Nigerian American lives matter.
Anything about the verdict, Ola?
Ola, what was it like to see Jussie flying like that?
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
I don't know, are they still on?
Did they speak about the back?
No, they would do that.
Okay, good. Sorry that the web feed might be a little rickety because I was just talking really fast. I have photos I'm right below the microphone stand, so I have really photos of everyone. But Ola, that's really the only thing he said. He said, I apologize for my Nigerian accent. I think that's a reference to the Uche kind of something yesterday when he was blasting him, saying that he was like a scammer. But yeah, the other day he just said that. Oh, I also asked her legal action. She said, and so we're just sitting here waiting to see if Jussie can leave the building one way. So no, there's only one way to leave the building, so he walked back to, so I told you, like, it was actually sort of like underwhelming, everything that happened in the courtroom. So they were all lawyers just standing around, we were standing around, and he walked around here a really long time. And then didn't kind of ignore the rest of the family and walk back to his attorneys. Yeah. We're downstairs, so we're by the exit door. That's where all the TV cameras are, and that's where they were, everybody kind of came down to their statement. So I'm waiting. He can only exit through this building. So he's going to have to walk. You're emailing what? Okay, yeah, I'll look at it on my phone. Oh, okay. You don't want these photos at all? I see.
Get in the elevator, folks.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, bye.
Sorry about it. You probably smacked me and give me a shade.
I'll have to go to the bar.
Maybe 12 bucks. Probably half an hour.
Didn't even include the liars.
Hey, Don, we're leaving home. Don, we're leaving home.
Is there any comment about the verdict?
What? About
International media.
I don't understand that. He's like, I mean, is that like directed at TMZ or something?
What did we do?
Who?
Okay. Obviously, we've heard the jury's verdict. We respect the judiciary. We respect the trial by jury process, so we're not going to criticize that. We're obviously very disappointed. We obviously respectfully disagree with the jury's verdict. The verdict is inconsistent. You cannot say Jussie is lying and Jussie is not lying for the same exact incidents. So we feel 100% confident that this case will be won on appeal. Unfortunately, that's not the route we wanted, but sometimes that's the route that you have to take to win, especially a case where we remain 100% confident in our client's innocence. From the first day of this case, his case has been prejudged, his case has been tried in the media, and it's unfortunate. This is the United States of America. We live in a constitutional democracy where everyone is presumed innocent. But obviously, if we're being honest, that hasn't been the case. In social media, in the media, he's been tried and convicted before his day in court. But we are confident in our appellate system. We're confident in our Illinois Supreme Court. And we're confident that at the end of the day, what's out there in the news media and in the gossip forums are not going to stand a chance in court. Mr. Smollett said he was attacked. He gave a description of his attackers. And what a lot of people don't know is a witness came to court, and I'm not going to say his name for privacy reasons, and testified to the exact same thing. This witness was a security guard that knew nothing of this case, didn't know Mr. Smollett, but recounted and corroborated his account of events. It's pretty disappointing what happened. But we remain confident that we're going to come back and he's going to be vindicated. Questions?
Lawyer Rodriguez was just out here.
Yes.
He told Jussie Smollett that he's still going to be his mother's son, but to come clean. What is your response to that?
Obviously, that's ridiculous. We believe, we remain confident, and on appeal, he's going to be cleared of all accusations on all charges. Again, I think everyone needs to focus on the fact that this is an inconsistent verdict. You cannot, everything stems from one incident. Jussie was not accused of doing two different things, and he was accused of doing one thing and charged multiple times for the same incident. A jury cannot come out and say guilty of lying, but not guilty of lying. It doesn't make sense. But again, we respect the judicial process. We respect the jury process. Well, we feel confident we'll be back here. There was so much doubt in this case, and doubt because he is absolutely 100% innocent. Any other question?
To be clear, you do plan to appeal the conviction?
Oh, 100%.
And for those people who say this has gone on long enough,
Yes.
this has cost taxpayers too much, why keep going through with this with an appeal? What do you say?
Well, obviously, easy for them to say. If you're being convicted of something that you did not do, why wouldn't you want to appeal? That's why we have appellate courts. But let's talk about that. This is a Class 4 felony case. They've spent millions of dollars prosecuting this case. I'm not saying that no case should be taken seriously, but they've spent millions of dollars. We had the first black female prosecutor elected into Cook County as a state's attorney, and she was second-guessed, Kim Foxx. She made an executive decision, and she decided not to prosecute this case, and she was second-guessed, and someone was appointed to prosecute it. So the question has to be asked, why was so much money and resources spent re-prosecuting this case when we have thousands and thousands of people dying, hundreds of people dying in Chicago from gun violence? Why aren't resources being diverted to those situations? We have drug cases, people dying in the suburbs of drug overdose. Why aren't resources being focused on that? Why is everyone so focused on, Jussie Smollett allegedly called the police and made a false report, even though obviously we 100% stand firm, Timer, that he didn't do that. But the question has to be asked. It's not on Jussie it's not on anyone to say, Mr. Smollett, you shouldn't waste resources by pursuing this case any further. Of course he should, because that's his guilt and innocence on the line, and we believe he's innocent. But the question should be asked is, why are they spending resources focused on this type of a case? Next question.
Web work for free, so how are you aligning that they spend millions of dollars in resources?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Webb's office work pro bono.
You say, I'm not going to comment on...
But you're saying they spent billions of dollars in the prosecution here. And
Okay.
So I want to see
no, that's fine. Have you seen the invoice?
What?
Have you seen any invoice? Okay, so we all know, those that have been following this case, you're supposed to, there are supposed to be filings for invoices. I haven't seen one yet. I'm sure there'll be one at some point in time. But this is based on the math we've done. We've talked that we came on this case in February. We're talking to the previous attorneys and the legal team. It's obvious a case like this. Look at all of you here. It didn't cost. It's not a situation where this costs $1 to prosecute. Next question.
What has Jussie told you since the verdict was read aloud?
You see, he's disappointed, but he remains confident. He's 100% confident that this will be reversed in appeal, and we remain confident. That's why we live in the #1 constitutional democracy. Regardless of what people are saying out there, people who are not lawyers, people who are not in court, people commenting and giving their ideas from 30,000, above sea level when they're not in court. At the end of the day, we believe justice will prevail. We don't believe it was done today, but we're very confident that he will be cleared and he will be found to be innocent.
Did Jussie tell you that he wants you to appeal the conviction? Did he ask you that after court today?
Obviously, I'm not going to discuss, attorney-client privilege with my client, but what I will tell you is, absolutely, we're planning on filing an appeal on this case.
Did you get a fair hearing in court?
I'm sorry?
Did you get a fair hearing in court?
I'm going to reserve my comments on that. Obviously, I plead the fifth. How about that? Next question.
Separate from the appeal, are you confident he'll get probation, no prison time?
Obviously, again, this is a Class 4 felony. It's right above a misdemeanor. From my historical perspective, I used to be a prosecutor in this courthouse, and I think everybody here, we're all former prosecutors. I've never seen a case like this where a person got jail time. And he shouldn't, because he's innocent. Next question. Any other question?
Describe in the courtroom, when we were there,
Yes.
it was really contentious at times between you guys, the judge, both sides. What was the environment like over the course of this trial, and are you confident you got a close trial?
You know, I'll put it to you this way. It was a very unusual proceeding. I've handled homicide type cases. I have never felt this, gone through the emotional roller coaster we went through in this here, and I think that's the most diplomatic thing I would say. But I don't, for 1 second, believe that justice was done today, and that's my opinion. Okay.
He shouldn't have been, because it was a minor crime, the police shouldn't have investigated it so hard. I mean, it was a big deal in the city, what he was saying about the city,
Correct.
racism and stuff.
Correct. Well, I wouldn't say, obviously everyone wants police officers to investigate crime, right? I'm not going to stand here and say they shouldn't, but what you need to remember is this is an innocent man. And also, there was a lot that was said in court, the jury got to hear that no one has ever heard before. We have the case of a security officer who saw the exact same thing that Mr. Smollett saw. There's a lot of misstatements put out there. Mr. Smollett said he saw 2 MAGA hat wearing people run away. Well, we found out in court that that never happened. Mr. Smollett said that he saw someone with pale skin between a ski mask. Well, we found out in court that an independent witness confirmed what he said. And so, I hope and I'm confident in our appellate court that we'll get a fair result there.
On one basis, why didn't you have the woman who claimed she saw the man running with the rope? Why didn't you have her testify?
I'm sorry?
The woman who claimed she saw a man running with the rope.
Yes.
Why didn't you have her testify?
A lot of stuff happened in this trial, and I'll just ask you to, Matt, you were in court every day. I watched some of your updates. I will ask you to go back and listen carefully to what some of the witnesses were saying, and that's what I'll put it in terms of, how some of them felt on the witness stand. I'll leave it to you that way.
Is there a reason Frank Gadsden didn't testify?
I mean, Frank Gadsden is his own person. You can only ask people to come to court. Sometimes you can't force them out of state. We're not going to go into legal strategy at this time. Okay?
Is Mr. Smollett still here in court, or is he going to speak?
No, he's not planning on speaking. Let's be real. Let's be human beings here. He's a human being. He's disappointed. But I will tell you this. I am very proud of him. I'm very, very proud of him. He's holding up very strong. He's committed to clearing his name, and he is 100% confident that he's going to get cleared by our appellate court. And I feel there's so many issues with this case, and for those reporters who've been following this case, nothing I'm saying here should be surprising. This case is seriously flawed from the initial inception. Should a special prosecutor have been appointed? The answer is, from our perspective, absolutely not. And so that's our position in this particular issue. Yes. 3 more questions, please.
Special Prosecutor Webb said Mr. Smollett would not have lost this case unless the jury thought he lied to them.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm not going to compare things, but historically, just because of a jury, just because a jury says gives a verdict doesn't mean it's the right one. We respect the jury system, but that's why we have appeals. I mean, if we accepted everything a jury did, we wouldn't have an appellate court, would we now? Okay. 2 more questions.
In terms of who actually attacked him, on
Yes.
the stand, Jussie told Mr. Webb that he wasn't sure whether the brothers were the actual culprits. Who does he believe are the actual culprits? Are they still out there? Can you give some shape to that? That's one thing that Mr. Webb then used in his closing to suggest that he was lying.
Okay, so this case, you have access to the transcripts. This case is, here's what I'll say on this issue. How is he supposed to know who attacked him? He's not the police department. He's not the Chicago police. He's not the Chicago Detective Bureau, right? He's not supposed to know. They need to do, guys, when you look at the transcripts and you focus in on some of the detectives' testimony, you would realize that a quality investigation was never carried out. That's our position. There was a lot of quantity to it, 3,000 hours of police manpower spent, but where was the quality? You had witnesses that were never interviewed. We had to bring in the security guard who corroborated everything Jussie said into court. Nobody brought him in. The prosecution team did not. And so you have to understand, unfortunately, we were facing an uphill battle where Jussie was already tried and convicted in the media, and then we had to somehow get the jury to forget or unsee all the news stories they had been hearing that were negative for the last 3 years. So that's difficult. So at the end of the day, you have access to multiple witnesses that you can go interview. My father was a professor of journalism. Right? You can conduct your investigative journalism and go find his witnesses. Frank Gadsden, you mentioned him. Go find him. Go talk to him. The other two, I don't want to mention their names for privacy reasons, but go talk to these people, right? Because Chicago police, in my it's our position, should have investigated this case much more thoroughly. Okay? Last question, please.
What do you think the grounds for appeal are? Where do you think
We will be here for 10 hours if I start listing the grounds of appeal. We will be here for a long time, you know, and I'm not going to go through that now. I think I'll save that for my legal brief, okay? Thank you so much, and God bless everyone. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas. Right?
Thank you. Tina, do you want to say anything? You represented Jussie from the start.
I think that Dave covered everything for us. Thank you.